So, I was just lucky enough to get to see a brand new movie called Strange Darling, a movie that you may have never heard of, and the only reason I'm saying that is because I had never heard of this movie. This is a movie I knew nothing about, and I luckily was able to go into completely blind. And when I say blind, I mean truly, truly blind. The only thing I had heard about this movie was its title. I had gotten a very, very blunt recommendation. That recommendation was simply, go see this movie called Strange Darling. And I said, what is it about? And they said, don't worry about it, go see it. So I went in, not knowing who's in it, who directed it, what it's about, what it looks like, what the genre even is. I didn't know if this was going to be a horror movie, a biopic, a comedy, a mix of all of those things. And as you read by the title, I was pleasantly surprised to find that not only is this movie an incredible, incredible film, but it is also a masterpiece and one of the best films of 2024. So if you want to have my experience of the movie, I'm not going to say anything else about it. Just know this is a masterpiece. Go watch it if it's in your theaters. It might not be. I'm not sure if it got a wide release, but if it's in your theater, go check it out. Don't, look up anything about the film. But if you want to know, actual details, here we go. Strange Darling is essentially Pulp Fiction, but as a serial killer slasher movie. That's the best way to describe it, at least when it comes to its structure. What I mean by that is this is a movie about a serial killer that is told in 6 parts, 6 separate chapters, but those chapters are told out of order. Well, what does that mean, you might be asking? Well, what that means is that the film starts in chapter 3, and then it jumps to chapter 5, and then back to chapter 1, and then to chapter 4, and then to chapter 2, and then chapter 6, I believe. I might be a little bit wrong, but the movie is told completely out of order, but it is one story. Much like Pulp Fiction, which is told out of order in time, but once you actually watch the movie, you understand why that structure is chosen and how it actually benefits the story. This movie uses that weird structure, that weird bouncing back and forth of its structure to the best of its ability in a way that I can't really even fathom how to explain how good it actually is. The movie starts simply with this girl being chased by a presumed serial killer. She's being chased through the woods. It's a scene that you've seen a billion times in movies. A damsel in distress and this guy trying to kill her, right? A chase through the woods. You've seen it a billion times. And although the scene is generic to open the movie with, it is still such an incredibly well-directed scene for such a kind of indie, low-budget movie. The performances, everything about the scene is really well done, despite the fact that the actual circumstances of what's going on in the story is very generic. But from that scene on, as the story develops and you're learning what's actually happening, the movie takes so many unbelievable twists and turns, it just can't be described as anything other than a masterpiece. I have never seen a movie like this that is so boldly dedicated to its idea, its concept, and its structure. This is made by somebody who, it feels like they've written masterpieces like this before. This film felt so easy, so natural, yet clearly, as small as it is, coming from the studio and the place that this film has come from, it is not a movie being made by people that are these kind of long-time Hollywood experts on this type of cinema. This is not Quentin Tarantino making Pulp Fiction. But somehow it just feels like this movie had that confidence. Its structure and the way this story is delivered is so brilliant. I don't want to spoil any of it, but it is just utterly incredible how it matches everything up and how the entire thing comes together. And it's really due to the performances as well. Willa Fitzgerald, an actress I've never seen anything of before in my entire life. She plays a character called The Lady. And this is the best performance of 2024. By far. I have not seen a performance better than this so far this year. It is absolutely stunning. She is able to play so many different kinds of characters in this one role and kind of bring to life all of these different themes and emotions and just goofiness and craziness, but seriousness and emotion and emotional stuff that is just so awesome. She is both badass and just so many other things that, God, her character is so amazing, and this performance is excellent. And Kyle Gallner, who's the other star of this movie, is also really, really good. He does what he needs to do to sell his character. This film also has an incredible look and style to it, both in its color palettes with its darker scenes that are kind of lit by these neon orangey lights, and then the light scenes that really feel like kind of that Friday the 13th cabin in the woods type, serial killer stuff. There's a sense of tension that's built throughout every single chapter, every scene of this movie, and it's because of the direction. This is directed by somebody who knows what they're doing, which is nice to see, especially in these smaller movies where sometimes you watch them and you go, well, maybe they didn't really know exactly what they were doing because it's such a small level film. The music in this movie is also brilliantly used. This movie has a heavy reliance, especially early on its sound design to make the movie feel 10 times bigger than it actually is when it comes to the budget, and they do a great job. The sound design is loud and punchy and makes the film feel epic, but then the use of music, every song that is used spread throughout the film adds a certain level of tone to each scene, a certain level of emotion. The music is beautiful and it adds to the movie in the way that music is supposed to add to a movie like this. And then the ending of this film, yet again, I can't really talk details, but the ending is so brilliantly crafted, both in its visuals, its music, its color grading, everything in the last few minutes about this movie. It just all gets put together in a way where I was stunned watching this in the movie theater that yet again, another indie small budget horror film has blown me away and left me feeling like this is one of the best movies I've seen in a while. Why is it, Hollywood, that this is like the only genre that we're getting incredible original filmmaking in? Like every other genre, you don't really get a lot of, but in horror, in slasher films, in serial killer films, you see a lot more of these filmmakers getting to make these very creative, kind of risky movies like this. I don't know if it's because they're cheaper to make, and they usually do well at the box office. Even the really shitty ones usually do well at the box office. But just constantly I'm reminded that the horror genre is the only one where we are consistently, month after month, getting original filmmaking in. And this is another movie that just reaffirms that. And even though I would not call this movie a straight horror film, it's definitely a slasher genre movie. A suspenseful thriller, and it is remarkable. I recommend every single one of you go check this movie out. If it's playing in your theaters, try to get to see this in a movie theater, and I recommend going in as blind as humanly possible, because the twists, the turns, what this movie is, the discovery of that added so much to the suspense, the tension, and just the thrill of experiencing Strange Darling. So I will give Strange Darling, of course, a 5 out of 5. This movie is a masterpiece. Let me know what you guys think of the movie down below. Let me know if you guys are planning to see it, and yeah, like this video, subscribe for more, turn on notifications. I'll see you in the next one.